Hey guys, Man here for another late night deck profile, and as you can see from the title, we are playing once again a security control deck, but this one is actually based on one that actually topped 12th place recently at the Latam regionals or whatever, or I don't know how you pronounce that, but in a recent regional, this version actually managed to get 12th place. And coincidentally, this build actually has a little bit of other spicy stuff, specifically from actually shout out to my friend in Bushi for Game. He actually ran this build like 2 months before this one actually topped, and the deck is almost word for word the same except for slight variations. But this is my own version, depending on what I like on honestly in the build. Mine is a little bit different from the 12th place one that we saw. I actually just used this one as a recording to win first place at my locals. This deck is actually really disgusting. It actually managed to hold its own against both Digipolice and Hunters, which is pretty crazy. In a mirror match, of course, it's really weird, but like aside from that, like almost every other deck aside from like red has a really hard time against this because you're healing so much. You're removing their board consistently. You're basically playing down a def X for almost zero if they decide to kind of overextend to try and take you out faster. So really solid, honestly. And the fact that because this build runs Blackwargreymon, you can basically delete tamers, which is really crucial. It also runs one resort defeat, which potentially can actually those two in conjunction can potentially help you take out certain decks, because some decks do rely on specific tamers. Like for example, Frenmer does rely on mind linking. Same with Shine, you can actually take out their Marcus basically, which is pretty cool. Especially if they do not have a stack to basically put it back into security. And even then, if they heal too much into security, they basically lose all their Marcuses, which kind of sucks for them. And you don't even have to swing into security to basically kill them. You can actually deck them out pretty easily. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into the profile so you can see what I mean by how this deck works. So first off, for the eggs, we are still running Upamon. Upamon is just really solid. Like for security control, Upamon is just broken because in conjunction with the rookie that we do run in this deck, Salamon, you get to heal and you get to draw a card. So this card is just really busted. I know that there are some variations that specifically run. Was it? Is it Yokomon, or it's the egg for Sakuyamon. That one, when you play an option card, you that's like two or higher, you basic or two cost or higher, you get to draw a card. But at the same time, there are also some of those that are running Tokomon, where anytime you add something to security, you get to basically draw one. But you're not really consistently like pushing out Salamon, so that one doesn't really work as well. Salamon is just mainly there to kind of like heal you up if you're at three. So yeah. So this one is just there mainly for salmons. You basically will never run out of eggs, honestly, because sorry about that. My Digimon was falling asleep. But yeah. So basically, this guy is just like it's just there as the extra draw, and at four, it's pretty solid. And if you're running out of eggs with security control against something, I don't know how long the game has dragged on, but I think you should have won at that point. So four eggs is already plenty for security control because we can also recycle stuff too. But yeah, that's all the eggs that we run. For level 3 rookies, we only run one, and that is two Salamons. Salamon still consistently is the best way to heal when you're at 3 or less. And in conjunction with this, as I mentioned, you get to draw one and heal, so pretty solid. I usually do the heal first and then, or actually I do the draw first and then heal, because that way I can draw potentially into like Def X or something that can help me next in the next move I do. That's basically all for level 3s. We don't run level 4s, so let's get into level 5s. For 5s, we of course run the 4 Magna Angemons from BT1. This one is still like the staple of the deck. You just run it just to heal as much as possible, so that's just how it is. Then we run 3 Wisemons. Wisemon, originally when I was trying out this deck, I didn't really like him, but I'm actually coming around to him. Though at the same time, you don't always need to see him, so I will be most likely replacing this third copy with a Magna Angemon Ace. So that way we have another way to heal. So that way we have 5 different guys to basically use for healing. This guy is actually really cool actually. On play or when digivolving, you get to reveal the top 3 and you get to add a purple or black Digimon, which hits both Blackwargreymon, Shadow Seraphi, and technically like Def X because it is purple, so pretty solid. And but the best part though isn't about its searching. It's the fact that you can place the rest at the top or bottom. So if you see what you need, you put it on the top. If you see stuff that you don't want to see, you put it on bottom. So basically, this actually helps you stack the deck and kind of cycle through your deck faster to get the parts that you need to, kind of start controlling your opponent's board. So yeah, we run just these level 5s, basically just 7 in total. Um, for level 6s, we run 3 Shadow Seraphis because Shadow Seraphi is pretty broken just by hard playing or even just evolving into either one of these. Evolving with Wisemon is actually kind of cooler because you get to give it blocker and then you basically force their guy to swing into this and die because once they swing in, this dies or you block, it dies, it heals your security and then it does 4,000 for each one. So at 3 or higher, you're already killing a lot of level 6s, so really strong. And of course, the fact that it has a D-Digivolve effect that isn't once per turn, it's always whenever you remove a security. So basically, if they try to remove your security, okay, D-Digivolve something, and it doesn't specify that it has to be the Digimon that is attacking. You can D-Digivolve something else, so pretty cool. You gotta run at least 3 copies. Then the other level 6, well, actually, we run 3 level 6s. We run 2 Blackwargreymons. As I mentioned, this guy can basically help you delete a tamer. And the cool thing, if you use this to delete, or if you kill a Digimon through blocking, through Wisemon, it can actually unsuspend and do a second block, which is pretty cool, because it is an all turns, once per turn effect, so pretty cool. But we mainly use it to kill tamers and just swing into security, or block usually, so pretty solid. Then for the last level 6, we run 1 Avenged Kidmon because we do run a lot of option cards in this deck. So it's actually good to have at least 1 copy, maybe 2, to basically recycle your deck later on. It does suck sometimes when you don't draw this, but usually you won't really deck out because most of the time your opponent will have already decked themselves out. So you don't always need this card, but it's just there to help make sure you don't. But yeah, you run 1 copy. Then for level 7s, we only run 2. We run 3 Def X's because we want to see it as consistently as possible, and we do have 2 ways to grab it from the trash. So this is actually not too bad if it gets hidden security because you can either calling it or get it back through the Matt Tamer, the old one. And yeah, then we run One's Worth Defeat because it's really cool that it's a security Digimon and you can Digivolve it on top of Black War to basically delete another Tamer. I have been able to go into a move where basically you evolve this. If you have 4 memory, you go to 0, you delete their Tamer, then you evolve into Worth Defeat and delete another tamer, so you're basically getting, or actually depending on what you're playing against, if you're playing against a deck that uses low cost tamers, you could potentially take out 2 with him, and then a third one was Worth Defeat, so pretty solid. I just run 1 copy because he's not the level 6 that we want to see. The one we want to see is Def X, so we run the 1 copy just to kind of see it, and then of course if it gets hidden security, hey, it's a free Digimon that you can swing with, and the fact that if it dies it deletes something, so pretty cool. And yeah, that's basically all the Digimon in the deck. The rest in the deck, obviously being security control, it's basically options. So let's get into them. First off, we run 4 Wyvern's Breath because Wyvern's Breath basically kills almost anything in the current meta. Even if stuff breaches over 15,000, you can reduce it weak enough so that it just basically dies to the next check, so pretty good. Then we run 4 of the Long Autostocto because it's basically a Wyverns, or it's a weaker Wyverns plus a Chaos Degrade, depending on how much security you have. So the fact that it does minus 12,000 by default, but if you have exactly 3 security, you get to activate that, and you get to do a Chaos Degrade effect, basically. And yeah, it's really cool. So you got to run at least 4 of these. Then, of course, being a deck that likes to heal, we do run 4 Holy Waves because we want to heal as much as possible. And hard playing this and passing them to 3 doesn't really hurt as bad, honestly, most of the time. So I like just having it regardless at 4. Then for the last yellow option, we run 1 Reinforce because this card is still busted beyond belief, giving you 3 memory and allowing you to stat your security. So you got to run the 1. Then for purple, we only run 1, and it's Calling from the Darkness. This is basically to grab back your Def X's and also technically your Wisemons. So that way you can hard play this, search, and then next turn evolve into Black War. So yeah. For the dual color options, we of course are running the 4 Chaos Degrades. Chaos Degrade is still one of the most broken option cards, and being 8 cost doesn't really matter in this deck because you can usually gain enough memory through one of the tamers to basically make this not as much. And the fact that it just doesn't really have a counter, the only really thing that can stop it usually is just effects that say if it were to leave the battle area. But even then, they've basically wasted something. And usually, you don't really like hard play unless you really want to remove their stack. Usually, do it from hand. Um, Usually you kind of save these for like their really big stacks that don't have protection. Against Digipolice, it's mainly just all about the DP reduction, and then this is for like other decks that can, like for example against Machine Dramon, it's kind of immune to DP reduction, especially if they have the EX1 version. This is just there to kind of take care of that. Then we run 4 Flame Hell Scythes because this helps us recycle our Magna Angemons, and surprisingly, it can also hit our Wisemon. So if you already have the Magna Angemon out, you can just basically bring back a Wisemon instead to pass turn, and you get to search and stack the top of your deck. So pretty solid. And yeah, that's basically all the option cards that we run in the deck. The rest, honestly, are tamers, and surprisingly, being a security control deck, you actually run not as many as we used to. We used to run a lot of tamers, but now we're kind of running specifically like the crucial ones, and that would be 4 Karis from BT4. This one is just so broken. I've been able to stat like with just 2 Karis, I've always been able to pass turn back to me, and because of my memory setters, I always go back to 3 regardless. So then it just completely ends their turn because usually every deck, as you know, has to digivolve to kind of set up and basically swarm the board or do anything basically. So if they digivolve when they're at exactly 3, they're already at 1, so you automatically pass turn once they swing once. So it actually prevents a lot of swarm decks from basically doing extra checks on their turn because it already passes to your turn. So having 4 of this is really consistent because that way you see at least 1 or 2 every match, which I did, and it actually is, I would say, is like the MVP tamer of this deck. Then we run 1 Matt Ishida because it, along with Calling, can grab back the FX and Wisemon. And it's of course a memory setter, so that's very crucial. Then we run 2 TKs from BT1. This one is just mainly there to search your security, grab something that you need out of there, and then it'll set you to 3 next turn, so pretty solid. And then for the last 2 cards in the deck, we run the TK and Kari, which does give us 2 memory. If you have less security, which most of the time you will have less security than them, so you will always get that extra 2. In one of my matches, I actually always set myself to 4 on my turn because of that, because they would pass me to 2, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I have less security, so I'll be at 4, and then I'd use that to play like any of these or play Magna Anja and pass them turn and just keep healing or basically doing more stuff with it. So pretty solid. Aside from that, yeah, no, this deck, it's security control, but now we have a way to kind of pop tamers. We have a way to stack and search our deck that isn't Izzy. We have Zwart Defeat to take out more tamers. We have a way to recover our purple stuff too, which is really nice. And with Wyvern's Lonk and with Chaos Degrade in there at 4, yeah, they're basically guaranteed to hit something, and it's going to hurt them really badly or get rid of like their stack. Against a single stack deck, this deck just auto destroys them most of the time, especially if they don't have protection like Greymon. The only counters to this deck are red, and every counter in existence that can counter this is in red specifically. And that also technically includes the purple red Imperial Dramon that basically stops stuff in security from activating. By default, it basically stops tamers as well. So yeah, basically anything in red can stop this. Because they have access to a Delicate Plan, and Red Hybrid has access to Alderman. And yeah, basically that's our only bad matchup. And most of the meta going forward will not be red, it will be purple. And purple does not have any protection whatsoever, and this deck like takes very good advantage of that. But yeah, aside from that, as usual, this is a template for you guys to work off of. As I mentioned, this is based on the deck that got 12th place in the recent regional, but tweaked to kind of how I want to run it. Like, as I mentioned, I want to replace this with a Magna Ace because, honestly, you want to see this, but you don't always want to see it. So I'm going to put in 1 just to kind of like offset it. My build also runs Avenge Kidmon because this is one of my all-time favorite cards in security control because the fact that it lets you just cycle and it helps you delete stuff is really strong, and the fact that this build can recover Def X and also use all these cards is really crazy. So pretty solid, honestly. But yeah, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought of this build, and I'll see you guys next time.